Hello, my loves. Welcome to my channel. I am Chrissy the Medium, and today I wanted to talk about a spooky experience that happened to me when I was younger. Now, in honor of Halloween, I wanted to talk about my personal ghost encounters that happened to me a lot when I was younger. I did not always know that I was a medium. I only found out actually about maybe 3 years ago that I had mediumship. But I started reading tarot and my psychic abilities really woken up about, I would say 7 to 8 years ago. But growing up, I always knew something was different about me, and I had very weird things and encounters and just experiences that happened to me growing up as a kid. So I knew that I was different. I felt like I was different, but it wasn't until I was an adult that my psychic abilities were awakened. So today I wanted to talk about a spooky ghost story. So it all started around, I would say it was probably summertime. Yeah, it was probably around summertime, around the age of 12, 13 years old. And I used to be really close with a family friend. And my family and their family, we always used to go and hang out on the weekends, during the summer, sometimes during the holidays. My family was very close to their family, and I got really close with their daughter, who was around 14, 15 years old. So she was older than me. Now this house, from the moment that I stepped in, I knew there was something different about this house. First of all, this house was a very Victorian house. It looked old, inside and out. And it was, what I found really strange about that house was when I walked in, you felt cold in there. At least I did. I felt like the air was cold, almost like if there was air conditioning on. But the thing is that there was none. There was no central air. There was no AC machine like the ones you have on the window. The windows, as a matter of fact, were wide open. But for some reason, on the inside of that house, it was very cold. And I always found that strange because I've never been to a house where that has happened before. So I always knew that there was something weird about this house. Something about that house never made me feel comfortable to stay over. But one day, their daughter, we're going to call her Leslie. So their daughter, Leslie, was trying to convince me to stay over. She said, please stay over. I want to hang out. Let's, just have a good time. Let's just spend time watching movies and just doing girl things, right? We were both around the same age, maybe 1 or 2 years difference. And for some reason, this house was one of those houses where the lights were always off. Like, they would keep maybe 1 lamp or 2 lamps here and there around the house. But the house was always it was dark. It was just creepy. It felt off. And when it became nighttime, I felt like there was somebody watching me because I would go to the kitchen, which the lights were off. And when I turned them on, it just felt like somebody was in there. Like, I did not know then what I know now. Then I didn't realize that what I was picking up and what I was feeling was energy. I was already reading energy and I did not know it. But now looking back, I realized, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I was already picking up a lot about this house because I was terrified. I was terrified. There was something about this house that made me feel really uncomfortable. And the thing is that this house was a multi-family home. So they lived in the first floor, but there was another family who lived in the second floor. And they also had children that were around our age. So the second floor, they had a daughter and they had a son. And we became really good friends with them. So when I would come over, we will all play together. And for some reason, I think that they knew that I was just terrified with this house. Besides, I was the youngest, so they did pick on me the most. But for some reason, one day, they just wanted to play a prank on me. Nobody was in the house. I think the parents, they probably left to the store or they went somewhere, maybe on a date. I'm not sure, but us kids, we were kind of alone in the house. They wanted to play a prank on me. Now, there has been many pranks that they have done to me probably over the months and years that I was hanging out in that house. And one of the pranks was I was watching television alone in the living room. In the dark, of course. Only the TV light was on. And I was wondering, where is everyone? Because they all got up and they're like, oh, we're gonna go get something, but you can stay here and watch if you want. And that's exactly what I did. I just stayed there and I was like, yeah, I'll just stay and I'm gonna watch television. And so I was watching a show and everyone was just missing. And I heard like this knocking sound. This house was a very old house. So I heard a knocking on the door. And I went up to go open it. And I'm like, okay, that's them coming back in. I did not think anything of it. Of course, I was already like kind of creeped out. But I did not think anything of it. So when I opened the door, there was no one there. And then out of nowhere, someone came out and just like, boo, like they just screamed at me. And they had a mask on, which was like a Halloween mask. And it was like a monster mask. And they started laughing and they were all there. So it was, in total, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. So it was 4 of us. So that all 3 of them were laughing and joking. And they just thought it was really funny. And for me at the time, I was a kid who was very, very afraid of the dark. I've always been afraid of the dark. So to me, that was not funny at all. But I didn't want them to think that I was like immature and that I couldn't handle a prank. So I tried so hard to just be brave and be okay with it and laugh with them and just kind of accept that, you know, we're just having fun here. But in reality, I was kind of really upset, and to me, I felt like I didn't want to be there anymore. Things started getting weird after that night. So Leslie and I were in the kitchen alone talking. The 2 other children were upstairs. They went back home, and we stayed downstairs. There were still no adults. And it was just us 2, and we were in the kitchen. And as we were having a conversation, all of a sudden, I am not kidding, the closet, which was the pantry, was a small pantry in the kitchen, opened, and a bag of potato flew across the room and it hit the wall. And we immediately saw that and we heard it and we ran. Now, it was just us 2 and we ran outside. Like, we opened the door and we ran outside and we couldn't believe what just happened. Like, out of nowhere, there was an object that was thrown at us in the kitchen. things just started getting weirder and weirder as the night went on. Finally, the adults came back and it was time to go to sleep. Now, it was probably around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And for some reason, this house or this apartment, because they lived in the first floor, did not have bedrooms. They converted, I guess you can say, the formal dining room into a bedroom. So there was no doors that you can close, and that room was connected to the living room. And in order for you to get to the kitchen, you had to walk through the living room, through the formal dining room, which was a bedroom, to a small hallway that led to the kitchen and the bathroom. It was a very strange arrangement for this apartment, and that kind of makes me feel like this house was never meant to be a multi-family home. This house was probably built as a one-family home, and the stairs that went upstairs to the second floor apartment was where all the bedrooms and stuff was. So I think that whoever bought this at one point, somehow they tried to convert it into a multi-family home, but it really was not intended to be one. And so there was really only one bedroom, and they all slept in that one bedroom, which I believe the bed was like a king size. And so we all slept there, and I don't know how many of us. It was probably maybe five of us. I think 5 or 6 maybe. I mean, the bed was pretty big. I don't know if it was a king size or it was bigger, but 5 of us were able to fit. And guess where I slept? At the very edge of the bed, because everyone was scared to sleep at the edge of the bed. So they leave the youngest one to sleep at the edge of the bed. And I was terrified. My day started by them pranking me. Then I had the potato thrown at me. And now I am sleeping at the edge of the bed in the dark, which I am terrified because I do not sleep in the dark. I always have a nightlight. And so here I am sleeping at the edge of the bed with my eyes wide open because I am terrified. And I can hear every sound, every creak, every noise from outside, every car, every noise I hear, and I cannot sleep. While you're in that bed, you can clearly see the living room. And the living room had many windows with curtains, of course, but the curtains were very sheer. So you were able to see what was outside. And as we were sleeping, we were all quiet. And it was probably around, I would say, midnight. And all of a sudden you hear a knock coming from the window. And we all looked because there was no wall, there was no door. We all just kind of turned our heads and leaned up a little bit. And we were looking at the window, and you can see a man. It was a shadow of a tall man who was wearing a hat. And it was like a round hat. And everyone was saying, "Go check who it is. No, you check who it is. No, you check who it is." And you can just hear whispers and voices of everyone just like, "Who is that?" And here we go again. This shadow figure is knocking on the window once again. And finally someone says, "Okay, I'll go check." So here we have one of them, which I believe was the father or the brother, I'm not sure, who got up and he went to the window and went to go check. And when he went like this with the curtain, there was nobody there. nothing was there. I was so afraid of what I just saw. There was no way that I was going to sleep. And I remember telling myself that I was never going to stay at this house ever again. And the next morning, I went and I asked my friend Leslie, do scary things happen in your house? Is this common? And she says, yes. She says, this house is very haunted. And a lot of things has happened to me all the time. Scary things. I see scary beings, dark entities, nightmares, objects moving, objects thrown, right? This was not their first encounter. That family has been experiencing haunting things since the day they have moved into that apartment. And the thing is that she allowed me to stay there knowing this. But I kindly told her that I was never going to stay over. I wouldn't mind visiting her and having, coming over, but I was definitely not going to stay over. Now, I might not have stayed over in the house again, but I did experience a lot of paranormal things up until when they finally moved. And the reason why they moved is because things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. It came to the point where most of the family members felt like they were being attacked in their dreams. And they were afraid that something was going to possess them. So they had no choice but to move out and go somewhere else. And that's what they eventually did. They haven't experienced anything paranormal or crazy after that experience. Alright guys, if you like spooky, scary ghost encounter stories that I have personally experienced, let me know down below. Maybe I'll tell some more stories. Maybe we can dive into my psychic abilities and how it got awakened. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time.